I wanted to express why I decided to go out and get hearing aids from Pacific Hearing in Menlo Park. I really felt like I was getting feedback from like my masseuse that my back was tighter, my neck was, what was going on. And he said, is your posture getting so that you're trying to really intensely listen to people? And I started paying attention to that, and it was really true that I was having trouble hearing, and so I was doing this, and by the end of the day, not only was my back tight, but I was extremely tired. And I had never tied that to the thought of not being able to hear well. The other thing I was having trouble with was phone calls. When people would call me on the cell phone, or I would call on the cell phone, I couldn't tell if I really had a bad connection or if it was my hearing, because it was starting to get worse, and I was starting to say almost every time, this must be a bad connection, and I knew that wasn't true. But what really triggered me, there were two things. One is one of my friends from church, a couple, where the wife said to her husband in front of me, I'm not going to be talking to you much anymore because I have to repeat what I'm saying so many times that it's not worth the effort. And I thought, wow, that's terrible. What about the relationship? How is the relationship going to be able to flourish when your spouse stops talking to you? So that really motivated me to look into hearing aids. And then the final thing that triggered me was Pacific Hearing sent something in the mail to me that showed a very new type of hearing aid that sits on top of your ear like a little teeny computer chip. And nobody knows actually that I have hearing aids. They haven't been able to see them. And it's not a big thing that sticks in your ear, which I kind of have a phobia about. It's just a little wire that goes down. And so that was exciting to me, besides the fact that it had a Bluetooth connection. And since I do so much talking on my cell phone, I was able to hear so much better. Actually, my cell phone is now my preferred phone to use because the cell phone is connected to my hearing aids through the Bluetooth. And when people see this, they ask what it is, and I don't have to say this is my hearing aids. I say, this is my Bluetooth. And they think, way cool, I should have one of these. So I really highly recommend that if you want to make sure that your behavior isn't changing. I was not going to restaurants with bigger groups of people because I was not able to hear. And that's not like me. I'm very much outgoing, and I was starting to not be outgoing because of that. So I highly recommend that you go to Pacific Hearing and get your ears tested, even if you think you don't need them now, so that you will know if your hearing capacity is dropping, as happens with all of us as we age. Anyway, I couldn't say enough about the great service that I've gotten at Pacific Hearing, the tremendous products, and that they are really on the front edge of this technology.
Prior to starting as a construction manager, I worked as a carpenter in the field and used a lot of power equipment, tools, hammers, and I think that had some effect on my hearing. In addition to that, in my younger days, I played in a rock and roll band, and standing next to the drummer was always a great way of getting a little bit of hearing loss in certain frequencies. But now that I'm in an older state, and I still play in a band, and I also do the recording. I set up the PA equipment and the recording equipment, and I was concerned that people were getting a different perception if I had some hearing loss to what the music was sounding like, and was I adjusting the system to compensate for my hearing in such a way that it was becoming grating or uncomfortable for the people in the audience or my other band members. So I thought it would be a good idea to seek professional help, and I went to Pacific Hearing Service to establish a baseline and see if it was time to consider hearing aids. And I was relieved to find out, after a very detailed analysis by Dr. Baxter, that I do have some hearing loss, not to the point where I need to have hearing aids yet, but I do know that they will be able to advise me when I do. Also, it gave me some confidence about the work that I was doing and the settings that I'm making, and it did heighten my awareness of the newer technologies that are available, not just for everyday folks who want to improve the intelligibility of their sound, but there's also systems that are available for musicians and people with special needs like that. So I can highly recommend Pacific Hearing Service for not just quality work, but also the expert advice that they're able to offer.